Hello everyone, I hope you're doing well. In today's video, we're going to talk about the fall of the Roman Empire, why such a powerful empire collapsed, and what lessons we can learn from it. The fall of the Roman Empire, the collapse that still shapes the world. A world history story by the perfect professor. Part 1, Rome at its peak. For centuries, Rome did not merely exist.
Rome brûlée.
At its height, the Roman Empire stretched across 3 continents: Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East. From the cold frontiers of Britain to the deserts of Syria, from the Atlantic Ocean to the edge of Mesopotamia, Rome controlled land, people, resources, and ideas on a scale the world had never seen before. And, perhaps more importantly, Rome believed it would last forever. The illusion of eternity. To understand Rome's fall, we must first understand why its people thought collapse was impossible. Rome was not just powerful. Rome was systematic. It built roads that still exist today. It created laws that still influence modern courts. It organized armies with discipline unmatched for centuries. It governed millions of people with a level of administrative control that no ancient civilization had achieved. To a Roman citizen, the idea that this system could vanish was unthinkable. Empires fell before Rome. Kingdoms collapsed before Rome. But Rome was different. Or so it seemed. From city to empire. Rome did not begin as an empire. It began as a small city-state on the banks of the Tiber River, one among many competing settlements in ancient Italy. Its rise was not sudden. It was methodical. Rome expanded through strategic alliances, relentless military campaigns, absorbing enemies rather than destroying them. Defeated peoples were not always wiped out. They were often Romanized, their elites integrated, their cultures blended, their soldiers recruited. Rome did not just conquer territory. It absorbed identity. The Roman army, the spine of the empire. At the heart of Rome's dominance stood its legions. A Roman legion was not simply a group of soldiers. It was a machine. Each legionary was trained rigorously, equipped uniformly, and disciplined mercilessly. Soldiers built roads, forts, bridges, and cities as efficiently as they fought battles. Discipline mattered more than individual heroism. A Roman soldier did not fight for personal glory. He fought for the system. This system allowed Rome to defeat enemies who were larger in number, fiercer in reputation, fighting on familiar terrain. Rome won because it was organized, and organization is power, law, order, and control. Rome understood something earlier civilizations struggled to grasp. Power cannot rely on force alone. It must be structured. Roman law standardized governance across vast distances. Taxes were collected systematically. Census data tracked populations. Governors administered provinces under imperial authority. Even corruption, present as it was, operated within a framework. Rome did not eliminate chaos. It managed it. This administrative mastery allowed Rome to rule for centuries while other empires collapsed within decades. Bread, circuses, and stability. Rome also understood the psychology of power. The population of Rome itself grew massive, over 1 million people at its peak. Keeping such a population calm required strategy. The solution? Bread and circuses. Free grain distributions ensured food security. Public games, gladiatorial contests, and spectacles distracted the masses. This was not accidental entertainment. It was governance. As long as the people were fed and distracted, rebellion remained unlikely. Rome was not naive. It was calculated. The Golden Age illusion. Under emperors like Augustus, Trajan, and Hadrian, Rome reached its zenith. Borders stabilized. Trade flourished. Infrastructure expanded. Wealth flowed into the capital. From the outside, Rome appeared invincible. From the inside, however, subtle changes were already underway. And Rome did not notice them. Because when systems grow large and successful, they stop questioning themselves. The first cracks. Expansion brought wealth, but also strain. The empire became too large to manage efficiently. Communication across vast distances took weeks or months. Decisions made in Rome arrived too late at distant frontiers. The army grew larger and more expensive. Taxes increased. Economic pressure mounted. Political power concentrated in fewer hands. And ambition followed. Power without limits. Rome's political structure had changed. The Republic was gone. The emperor now ruled. At first, strong leadership provided stability. But power without clear limits invites competition. Ambitious generals realized something dangerous. If you control the army, you can control Rome. Civil wars followed. Emperors rose and fell at alarming speed. Loyalty shifted from the state to individuals. The army, the backbone of Rome, was becoming politicized. And that would prove fatal. A system too confident to adapt. Rome's greatest strength became its weakness. Its systems were so effective, so dominant, that change seemed unnecessary. Warnings were ignored. Reforms delayed. Problems managed rather than solved. Rome assumed tomorrow would resemble yesterday. History rarely grants such mercy. Professors' reflection. Before the fall. At its peak, Rome had everything an empire could desire. Power, wealth, military dominance, administrative control. And yet, history teaches us a harsh truth. No empire collapses at its height. Collapse begins when success blinds leadership to fragility. Rome did not fall because it was weak. Rome fell because it believed it was strong enough to endure anything. Part 2. The cracks beneath the marble. Empires rarely collapse because of a single blow. They collapse because pressure builds silently until even marble begins to crack. By the 3rd century, the Roman Empire still looked powerful from a distance. Its borders remained vast. Its cities still stood. Its armies still marched. But beneath the surface, Rome was changing. And not for the better. Power turns inward. Rome's greatest enemy was no longer outside its borders. It was inside. As imperial authority grew stronger, competition for that authority grew fiercer. The position of emperor, once rare and stable, became dangerously accessible. Generals realized that loyalty from the army mattered more than legitimacy from Rome. If soldiers supported you, you could become emperor. If they stopped supporting you, you could be killed. This created a deadly cycle. Emperors rose through force, ruled briefly, were overthrown by rivals. Some emperors lasted years, others months, a few mere days. Stability, the foundation of Rome's success, began to evaporate. Civil war as a way of life. Civil war is not just violent. It is expensive. Every internal conflict drained resources. Armies fought each other instead of defending borders. Cities were damaged. Trade routes were disrupted. Worst of all, trust eroded. When soldiers fight fellow Romans, the idea of a shared empire weakens. Rome was no longer united by identity. It was divided by ambition. The economy begins to break. To fund constant wars and massive armies, emperors needed money. A lot of it, but Rome's economy was under strain. Silver shortages led to coin debasement, reducing precious metal content while maintaining face value. This caused inflation. Prices rose. Confidence fell. The rich protected themselves. The poor suffered. Tax burdens increased, especially in rural areas. Farmers abandoned land. Food production declined. Urban populations became harder to sustain. Rome's economy, once a strength, became a source of instability. Corruption without shame. Corruption had always existed in Rome, but now it became normalized. Officials bought positions. Governors exploited provinces. Military commands were awarded through favoritism rather than competence. When corruption becomes expected, systems rot quickly. Laws lose meaning. Justice becomes negotiable. Authority becomes hollow. Rome's administrative brilliance dulled into bureaucratic self-interest. The army changes, and not for the better. The Roman army was evolving, and not by choice. Citizens no longer rushed to enlist. Military service became dangerous, underpaid, and politically risky. To fill ranks, Rome increasingly relied on Mercenaries, foreign recruits, tribal allies. These soldiers were effective, but their loyalty was conditional. They fought for pay, not identity. The army that once defended Rome began to resemble a hired force guarding a weakening system. Overexpansion without control. Rome's borders were enormous. Defending them required constant vigilance. But as internal chaos grew, border defenses weakened. Messages took too long. Reinforcements arrived too late. Command structures fractured. Rome was stretched thin, trying to hold everything, everywhere, all at once. And history punishes overextension. The psychological shift, perhaps the most dangerous change, was invisible. Romans stopped believing in Rome. Not overnight, not consciously, but slowly. Civic pride declined. Participation in governance faded. Loyalty shifted from empire to survival. When people stop believing a system can protect them, they stop supporting it. Rome still existed, but its soul was weakening. Professor's reflection, the nature of internal collapse. Rome did not fall because it lost battles. It fell because it lost coherence. When institutions decay, armies follow. When trust erodes, power fragments. When ambition outweighs responsibility, systems turn inward. By the time Rome recognized the danger, it was already fighting itself. And an empire at war with itself is an empire already halfway to collapse. Part 3. The army that couldn't save Rome. For centuries, Rome's army had been its greatest strength. It conquered kingdoms. It crushed rebellions. It defended borders that stretched beyond imagination. But history has a cruel rule. When the institution meant to protect a system begins to change its loyalty, collapse accelerates. By the late Empire, the Roman army was no longer the force that built Rome. And Rome paid the price. From citizens to contractors. In the early days of the Roman Empire, soldiers were citizens. They fought for land, honor, and identity. Military service was both duty and privilege. Victory meant shared prosperity. Defeat meant shared shame. But over time, this model eroded. As Rome expanded, military service became longer, harsher, and less rewarding. Wealthy citizens avoided enlistment. Rural populations shrank. Urban dependence increased. Rome still needed soldiers. So it changed the rules. The rise of the mercenary army. To maintain its legions, Rome increasingly recruited
non-Roman tribes,
foreign warriors, former enemies. These recruits were skilled fighters. Some were exceptional, but they fought for payment, not belonging. This distinction mattered more than Rome understood. A mercenary army can win battles, but it cannot preserve a civilization, because loyalty purchased can always be sold again. When generals became kings, as loyalty shifted, so did power. Soldiers no longer pledged allegiance to Rome itself. They pledged allegiance to commanders who paid them and promised rewards. This transformed generals into kingmakers. If a general wanted power, he did not need political legitimacy. He needed soldiers, and soldiers learned they could demand favors in return. This dynamic destabilized everything. Emperors depended on military approval. Military leaders competed for control. Authority became transactional. The army stopped serving the state. The state began serving the army. Civil war as military routine. Rome entered a dangerous phase where civil war became almost routine. Legions marched not against invaders, but against other Roman legions. Each conflict weakened borders. Each victory created new rivals. Each defeat encouraged rebellion elsewhere. Rome was bleeding itself dry, and its enemies were watching. Discipline without identity. Roman military discipline had once been legendary, but discipline alone is not enough. Without shared identity, obedience becomes fragile. Foreign recruits often retained their own customs, leaders, and loyalties. Some rose to high command. Others negotiated power directly. Rome believed it could control these forces indefinitely. History disagreed. The cost of permanent war. Maintaining a massive standing army required enormous resources. Taxes increased. Coinage lost value. Supply chains strained. To fund defense, Rome undermined the very economy it relied upon. And when soldiers went unpaid or felt undervalued, they mutinied. Not out of ideology, out of necessity. The borders began to fail. As Rome fought itself, external threats grew bolder. Border defenses weakened. Garrisons thinned. Response time slowed. When pressure mounted, Rome could no longer respond with decisive force. Not because it lacked soldiers, but because it lacked unity. An army divided by loyalty cannot defend an empire stretched across continents. The illusion of control. Rome believed that as long as it controlled the army, it controlled the empire. This belief proved fatal. Control requires legitimacy. Legitimacy requires trust. Rome had neither. By the time leaders realized the army could no longer save the system was already collapsing from within. Professor's reflection: when strength becomes fragility. The Roman army did not betray Rome. Rome transformed the army into something that could no longer protect it. When institutions are altered to solve short-term problems, they often create long-term disasters. Rome solved its manpower crisis. It did not solve its loyalty crisis. And history always punishes that mistake. Part 4. The barbarian pressure, truth versus myth. When people imagine the fall of Rome, they picture fire. They see savage armies crashing through gates. They imagine chaos, destruction, and sudden collapse. They imagine barbarians ending civilization. This image is powerful. It is also misleading, because Rome was not destroyed by barbarians.
Rome was exposed by them.
Who were the barbarians? To the Romans, the word barbarian did not mean savage. It meant foreigner. Anyone who did not speak Latin or follow Roman customs could be labeled a barbarian. This included diverse peoples with complex societies, political systems, and military traditions. Among them were the Visigoths, the Ostrogoths, the Vandals, the Franks, the Huns. They were not a single force. They were many groups, each responding to pressures of their own. And many of those pressures came from Rome itself. Rome opens the gates. By the late Empire, Rome faced a serious manpower crisis. Its population declined. Its army struggled to recruit. Its economy weakened. So Rome made a calculated decision. It invited barbarian groups inside the empire. These groups were settled as allies, laborers, and soldiers. In exchange for land and protection, they were expected to defend Roman borders. This policy was not a mistake by itself. In fact, Rome had integrated outsiders successfully for centuries. The problem was timing. Rome was no longer strong enough to absorb them fully. The Visigoths, refugees, not invaders. The Visigoths did not initially come as conquerors. They came as refugees. Pushed westward by the advance of the Huns, they sought safety within Roman territory. Rome agreed to let them cross the Danube River, but Roman officials exploited them. Food was withheld. Prices were inflated. Abuse was common. Starving, humiliated, and desperate, the Visigoths revolted. This revolt culminated in one of Rome's most humiliating defeats, the Battle of Adrianople. A Roman emperor was killed on the battlefield. For the first time in centuries, Rome looked vulnerable. The sack of Rome, symbol over substance. In 410 AD, the Visigoths entered Rome itself. The city was looted. The world was shocked. But here is the crucial truth. Rome had already lost real power long before this event. The sack was symbolic, not decisive. The empire's administrative center had moved. The army was fractured. Authority was weak. The sack of Rome did not cause collapse. It revealed it, the Vandals and the slow disintegration. Later, the Vandals captured North Africa, one of Rome's most important grain suppliers. This was far more damaging than any sack. Rome lost food. Rome lost revenue. Rome lost control. The empire could no longer sustain itself, not because it was conquered, but because it was hollow. The Huns, fear without control. The Huns, led by Attila, terrified Europe. But they did not destroy Rome. They pressured borders, destabilized regions, and accelerated migration. They exposed Rome's inability to respond effectively. Fear spread faster than armies, and fear thrives when confidence is gone. Rome's greatest miscalculation. Rome believed it could manage external pressures indefinitely. It believed diplomacy, payments, and temporary solutions would suffice. But Rome misunderstood the moment. The problem was not the barbarians. The problem was that Rome could no longer enforce its own terms. Once authority becomes negotiable, collapse becomes inevitable. Professors' reflection, scapegoats, and reality. History often prefers simple explanations. Blaming outsiders is easier than confronting internal decay. The barbarians did not destroy Rome. They entered a system already failing. They did not break the empire. They walked into the space where the empire used to be. Part 5. The Fall of the Western Empire. History often gives us dates, clear numbers, definitive endings, but real collapse rarely respects calendars. The fall of the Western Roman Empire is traditionally dated to the year 476 AD. It is taught as a moment when an ancient world ended and a dark age began. This version is convenient. It is also incomplete. What actually happened in 476 AD? In that year, a Germanic military leader named Odoacer deposed the last Western Roman emperor, Romulus Augustulus. There was no great battle, no city-wide destruction, no final stand. The emperor was removed quietly and sent into retirement. And with that, the Western Roman Empire officially ceased to exist. But Rome did not collapse in flames. It dissolved, an empire that had already left Rome. By the late 5th century, Rome was no longer the true center of power. Administrative authority had shifted. Military command was fragmented. Provincial governors operated independently. The emperor himself had become a symbolic figure. The empire still existed in name, but in practice, it had already broken apart. What ended in 476 AD was not civilization. It was central control, life after the empire. For ordinary people, daily life did not change overnight. Farms continued to operate. Local leaders governed communities. Roman laws were adapted rather than abandoned. What disappeared was scale. Trade networks shrank. Long-distance commerce declined. Infrastructure decayed without centralized maintenance. The world became more local, more fragmented, more uncertain. The myth of sudden darkness. The idea that Europe immediately descended into chaos after Rome's fall is a myth created later. Yes, literacy declined. Yes, cities shrank. Yes, political stability weakened. But culture did not vanish. Roman knowledge survived through monasteries, local administrations, and most importantly, the Eastern Roman Empire. The Western Empire ended. Rome itself did not. Why the West could not recover? Unlike the East, the Western Empire lacked stable revenue sources, dense urban centers, strong administrative continuity. Its economy was more rural, its borders more exposed, its political structure weaker. Once central authority disappeared, there was no mechanism to restore it. The West did not collapse violently. It fragmented permanently. A world reorganized, not destroyed. What followed was not the end of history. It was a transformation. New kingdoms formed. Old Roman titles were reused. Laws blended Roman tradition with local customs. Europe entered a long period of transition, complex, uneven, and often misunderstood. Rome did not fall into nothingness. It reshaped the world that replaced it. Professors' reflection: when systems end quietly, the Western Roman Empire did not die screaming. It faded. And this is perhaps the most unsettling lesson of all. The most powerful systems rarely end with drama. They end with paperwork, with neglect, with silence. By the time people realize something is gone, it has often been absent for generations. Part 6. Rome never truly died. When people say Rome fell, they imagine an ending. History, however, prefers continuations. Because Rome did not disappear in 476 AD, it changed form. And in doing so, it ensured its survival for another 1,000 years and beyond. The empire that refused to end. While the Western Roman Empire fragmented, the eastern half remained intact. Centered on Constantinople, the Eastern Roman Empire preserved Roman authority, law, and administration long after the West collapsed. Modern historians call it the Byzantine Empire. Its people did not. They called themselves Romans. They spoke Greek. They worshipped differently. But their state was Roman in structure, law, and identity. Rome had not died. It had moved east. Roman law becomes the world's blueprint. One of Rome's most enduring legacies was not military power. It was law. Roman legal principles, contracts, property rights, citizenship, due process, were systematized and preserved in the East. Centuries later, they would be rediscovered in Western Europe. Modern legal systems across Europe and beyond are built upon Roman foundations. Empires fell. Roman law endured. The language of power and thought. Latin did not vanish with the Western Empire. It evolved. From it emerged French, Spanish, Italian, Portuguese, Romanian, even English, though Germanic in origin, absorbed vast amounts of Latin vocabulary through Roman and later medieval influence. Rome still speaks, just not in one voice. Christianity and imperial continuity. Rome also transformed spiritually. Christianity, once persecuted, became an imperial religion. Roman administrative systems helped spread it across continents. Church organization mirrored Roman governance. Dioceses, hierarchies, central authority. The empire faded. Its institutional logic survived. Why Rome still shapes the present. Look closely at the modern world. You will find Rome everywhere. In law courts, in political institutions, in city planning, in concepts of citizenship and statehood. Rome taught humanity how to govern complexity. That lesson never expired. The real meaning of Rome's fall. Rome did not fall because it was weak. It fell because it became too complex to sustain without constant reform, and reform came too late. Its collapse was not a warning against power. It was a warning against complacency. Rome teaches us that systems decay from within. Stability requires adaptation. No structure is eternal, no matter how powerful. This lesson applies to empires, nations, institutions, and civilizations, including our own. Final reflection, lessons from the past. The fall of the Roman Empire is not ancient history. It is a mirror. Rome shows us how greatness is built and how it unravels. It reminds us that decline is rarely sudden, that collapse is usually quiet, that the most dangerous moment for any system is when it believes itself invincible. Rome did not vanish. It became the foundation of the world that followed. Closing words from the perfect professor. History is not about memorizing dates. It is about understanding patterns. Rome's story is not a tragedy. It is a lesson written in stone, law, language, and memory. Lessons from the past. Stories for the present. That's all for today's video on the fall of the Roman Empire. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.